bookworms, just the bookworm here. So today I want to do the bookshelf tag video. And I will link in the description where I saw this at. But I just thought it sounded like a lot of fun. If you've been following my channel for a little bit, I did, I think it was last week, a bookshelf organization video. This is my new bookshelf that I recently, well, I was gonna say I put together. No, my husband put together. I put the books on it though, most important part. So I saw this and I was like, oh, this would be fun. All right, let's get into the tag. Question 1. How many bookshelves do you have? So currently in this apartment, and we moved here into this apartment, I guess it's been like 7 or 8 months ago now. And we moved across the country. It was a 20-hour move, so we didn't bring a lot of stuff with us. But this is my first bookshelf in this apartment. My parents gave it to me for my birthday, which coming up tomorrow, yay. But they gave it to me, which was super awesome. So I currently just have this one bookshelf, or bookcase, right? This. It's got 5 shelves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shelves. But it's just the one case. And then I have like 5 other hidey holes where I've stuck my books in this apartment because I have a lot of books. One of the questions is actually asking me about how many books do I have. So you'll find out how many books are stuffed in this one tiny apartment. But anyway, yeah, so the one shelf and then the hidey holes, like I have some underneath a bench and then underneath the window and then next to the bed and in the closet and underneath the table. They're stuck everywhere. So anyway, let's move on to question 2. Question 2, how many books do you have? So in total, well, we'll start with on this shelf. On this shelf, I have 137 books. So not that many. 137 on this. In total, I have about 470. I did do a little bit of estimating after I got like into the high 300s. I was like, all right, we're going to start, guesstimating here. But yeah, I have about 470 physical copy books in this apartment. And about 150 of those, I'm estimating again, are books that I have not read yet. The rest of them are books that I've read. And that's the other thing. All of the books on this shelf, on this bookcase, I have read and finished. Okay, so the next question is, how do you organize your shelves? And I organize them by genre. So, and just kind of to go through this. Oh, and you know what? I do have one book up here that I haven't read. I stuck it up here. My husband gave it to me for my birthday because he's awesome. And there's usually more books up here. I pulled them off the shelf for one of the upcoming questions. But these are my books that I've read this year. And again, there's more that should be here. Books that I've read in 2021 so far. And then we start with fantasy. And it goes fantasy, fantasy, fantasy. I kept trying to keep the author's books together. So like for Rainbow Rowell with Fangirl, Carry On, Wayward Son. Even though Fangirl's more of a contemporary and these are fantasy, I stuck them all together. We continue on with fantasy. And then when we get to, y'all can't see anything, my bad. When we get to turtles all the way down. This starts our contemporary. So then we go contemporary. When we get down here, we have, oh, y'all, sorry. Then we have my like thrillers, mysteries, that kind of stuff down on this shelf. So I have lots of those. And then we come to the bottom shelf. We have historical fiction. And then over here we have just nonfiction. So not a ton of nonfiction. I really would love to read more nonfiction and to get into that a little bit more. So if you have recommendations for nonfiction, especially nonfiction that's written in like a narrative style, I would be so interested in that. Okay, so that's how I have them organized. I'm liking that for now. Again, you saw that these shelves are like pretty full, but then also I have books in front, and I'm thinking I'm going to come up with something to raise these books back here up, so that way I can have a second row in front of them. I just hate to have books in front of other books and I can't see what's there. I know that's just being picky, and I'm going to have to use whatever space I have, but that's kind of like the goal. Next question. What is your oldest book? So looking through my books, I kind of thought about this in two different ways. So I have a book on my shelf that is greatly loved, and it's from when I was in elementary school, like upper elementary school, I think. At my parents' house, I have older books that I've had, since I was younger than this, but this was like upper elementary age, and I have it on my shelf currently, and that is The Giver by Lois Lowry. And this is like the oldest like physical copybook I've owned, not looking at publication date. And what's interesting, this book, and I'll never get rid of it, but as you can see, she's fallen completely apart. So yeah, but I still absolutely love it, and I will keep this copy of The Giver forever because I really, really enjoyed this book. Especially when I first listened to it in the classroom and the teacher was reading it out loud, and I was just like, I think the little reader fire in me was lit. So this is like the oldest one that's on my shelf in terms of that I've owned. But then I also have other books like this one, Ride Through Palestine. Isn't this just beautiful? And this book was actually, when the church that I attended was closing, they were just like, giving away things. And this one was written, it has a copyright of 1881. So pretty old. It's got some cool like images in it. I just really love old books. I like to smell them, honestly. It's amazing. It's like you can smell history. I know that sounds weird. And then I also found some books. I don't even remember where I found these, but Louisa May Alcott's 8 Cousins. And I just think this is like a stunning book. This one is not going to be quite as old as the last one. This actually has like a little note from the author. I mean, I think it was probably printed in all of them, but that's pretty cool. I had never noticed that before. And this looks like it was copywritten in maybe 1874. Oh, so this one might actually be a little bit older. But again, it smells amazing and it looks gorgeous. Another old one that I'd come across was Dr. Dolittle, In the Moon. So, and this is just like really interesting looking. This was by Lofting. I think Lofting. And like, yeah, I don't even know where I got this from, but it's just really cool looking. Just beautiful like artwork in there. This one was copywritten in 1928. It's not quite as old as the other ones, but again, still just beautiful. So those are some of the oldest books, either in publication date or oldest like physical copy books that I've owned, that I have. And then the next question is about the newest. And I'm just going to go with the books, and these probably are newest in terms of publication date. Maybe this one might actually trump the publication date on these. But anyway, I'm going to stick with the ones that I've read already, which are these three that I absolutely loved. These were all also 5-star books. So we have When No One Was Watching by Alyssa Cole. This was an amazing psychological thriller that has to do with the gentrification of a Brooklyn neighborhood, and it just gets so intense. Another new one that I bought, I think the same time as that one, was Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a stunning book. It's written in this beautiful lyrical format. It's written in verse, and it tells the story of Yahira and Camino, who are sisters, but they did not know that because their father had kept it from them. And after he dies unexpectedly in a plane crash, they learn about each other. So, and you can imagine all that comes with that. And then the next one was Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. Oh, I loved this so much. In this, we have Enchanted, our main character, the protagonist, and she really, really wants to be a singer. And she's kind of looking for her big break. She's very ambitious. She attends an audition, or like a competition. She sings, and she gets noticed by a famous singer, Corey Fields, who takes an interest in her that goes a bit too far. And this does end up being, I would say, I don't know if it's a psychological thriller, but it's definitely a thriller. It definitely just tears you apart as well. So, loved all of these new books that are on my shelf. All right, the next question is longest book on your shelf. Okay, the longest book on my shelf is one that I finished last year in 2020, and that was Stephen King's The Stand. And this is the complete and uncut edition that was released. I think there was another edition, obviously, that was shorter than this, but this edition ends, and I thought it was kind of interesting how literally it ends on the last page. Normally you get like a few extra pages at the end, but it ends on the last page with just a little bit of information on the back. So this ends at page 1153. So this is the largest book that I have on my shelf to date. This story is about a horrible disease that was created in a laboratory. It accidentally gets out, begins to spread, and infect a lot of people. It has a high rate of transmission from person to person, and a high rate of killing the person that contracts it. So this is about the story of the survivors, the people who live when everyone else dies, and they're trying to figure out, how to go on with life, how to find other survivors. And kind of also that's happening, we have these two powers, two forces, two beings. There's like positive being and a evil or negative being, and people are inherently attracted to one or the other. They begin dreaming about that person and traveling to different locations, and it just goes from there. This, while it is a really long book, keeps you engaged the whole time. I really felt like I was excited to jump back into the story because you get so many like different characters and different events that happen, it definitely keeps you very engaged. All right, the next question is, what is the shortest book on your shelf? And I might have others shorter than this, but I really don't know. I think this was the one that I could find. I think this is the shortest. So this is Ethan Frome by Edith Wharton. And this is 179 pages. Nope, I'm wrong. 181 pages. So definitely not the shortest book, but this, yeah, it was pretty short for me. I have other, like short story collections, but I wouldn't consider that the shortest book because it's a collection of stories and not the whole book. Anyway, this is the one that I'm picking. It's been a long time since I've read this one. I remember that it goes a lot into like people looking at this one character, Ethan Frome, and trying to figure out his story. So let me just give you a little snippet from the back. Oh, I just noticed this book cost $3.95. What? This is a super cheap book. I don't even know where I got it from. Copyright 1911. Ooh, this is a pretty old book too. So this is a dramatic tale that takes us into the most private recesses of a remote New England village. And that's literally all it gives about it. But yeah, Ethan Frome, if I'm remembering correctly, he's kind of an interesting character who's had a lot happen in his life, kind of negative things that have, kind of made him a very, like, individual that others talk about. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but in this town, people are always kind of like talking about him and talking about some of the tragedies that happened to do with his life. And we kind of get a sneak peek into some of those things that happened in this. It was pretty good, if I'm remembering correctly. It was a long time ago, but yeah. So this is the shortest book on my shelf. All right, the next question, what is the predominant genre on your bookshelf? I think we kind of got this from what I showed you guys earlier, but it definitely is fantasy. Again, I've got like part of a shelf, a whole shelf, and then almost a whole shelf. Like it goes to there, but I also have these stacks of books in front. So yeah, I would definitely say fantasy. And probably the next one would be thrillers, mysteries, and horror, because I have a whole shelf of those as well. So yeah, probably fantasy though, and then thrillers, horrors, mysteries. Okay, the next question. Have you done a bookshelf tour? I have not done a bookshelf tour where I've like which I feel like what I just did, because I only have this one shelf, was pretty much a tour. But I do have that bookshelf organization video where I kind of like sort books and put them up and all this stuff. But I have not done a tour video where I go through and like show each book. But maybe that'll be coming in the future. If you want to see that bookshelf organization video, see it in the iCards, or I'll try and remember and put it in the description too. Okay, for the next question, you had to go to a random number generator and put in how many shelves I had, and then I put in the number of books on that shelf. So when I put in 1 through 5, I hit the button, it gave me 1. So y'all remember that's the shelf that's kind of like bare. I did take off the book, and I have already talked about the book that actually the number generator picked. And then it was book 6 on that shelf, which was When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. And yeah, this was an amazing psychological thriller. So many things happened in this where I was like not knowing who to trust at all. And I love the main character, Sydney Green. She kind of just doesn't take any junk from anybody. And she is making her own neighborhood tour after she goes on a neighborhood tour of her neighborhood. And then she hears like just a lot of old like there's nothing about the people who live there now, nothing about, just any of the things that she, knows are important parts of the neighborhood. And so she's like, we need to fix this. It was so intense, and you just really like, you suffer through the not knowing and like the anxiety that Sydney goes through. It's just so intense. And we also get another main character, Theo. He moves in next door, and he's one of these people who has come in and swiped up a property that has recently been taken over from one of the families that she's lived with her whole life. And so she already kind of has some, feelings about Theo that are not so positive. They do end up working together and kind of, having to solve this big mystery. I don't want to say more. I don't want to give anything away, but yeah, it was so intense. If you have not picked this up, please do. And apparently Alyssa Cole has like a ton of books out there. I don't know why. I had never picked up any of her stuff before, but now I have like 3 or 4 things I'm reading. I've read one of her romance books, and then I've got like 2 or 3 other ones on my like to be read in the near future, because she's amazing. So that was the random number generator question. And then the last question is, pulling it up on my phone. The last question is, if you have any like fandom merch on your shelves. I do not. I'm just keeping my bookshelves just for books right now. I really don't have room for anything else. It's just books. So no fandom merch, that kind of stuff. But maybe in the future, who knows? I hope you enjoyed this book tag video. Leave me a comment or suggestion or feedback in the comments below, and I hope you guys have a great day, evening, night, morning, whenever you're watching this. See ya. Bye.